you don't like
So,
that.
yeah. So go ahead, Nick, introduce yourself, like tell the people what you do.
Yep, so I'm Nick. I run Hallelujah Lures. I've been doing it since about, I think it's, if you look back on my Instagram, I've been trying to sell them since like 2016, I think it is.
Mm-hmm.
And then I've been making them since 2007, just carving up 2x4s and stuff. I lived in a house that had a little pond on it, so I would freaking carve my little wooden lures and go test them in the pond, never catch shit. There's always the littlest bass in there. But yeah, that's what how I got started carving them because it was just hard as heck back then. It was like 2007, I think I said 2009 around there to get a hard-bodied swim bait. It was impossible. You had to freaking order it online, and back then I just didn't have the money to do that. So that's how I got started in it, copying every lure I seen, just copy paste, make a Spro BBC out of wood. I was like, heck yeah, I can do that. And
Mm-hmm.
they never worked. I would get some that would swim, some that wouldn't. Going to Home Depot trying to find little eye screws was impossible back then. And then, yeah, just kept progressing from there, finding new parts wherever I could. I think I found a kit at like Gander Mountain that had the eye screws that you needed. It was like a
Mm-hmm.
little Christmas kit, make your own lures, and it had like the carved, uh, like already carved balsa baits in there, and then you just put the stuff together. And I was like, I
Mm-hmm.
just want them screws, so I probably paid $30 for eye screws back then, five of them. And then luckily I found lure parts online and stuff like that. You could get all the stuff you needed. It was a godsend back then. But yeah, now I get all my stuff. You look on eBay, you can find a big old pack of them. I can't imagine if I had them back then how to crap my pants. It was just so hard to find them.
Yeah, man, especially like so like what kind of wood were you using back then? Probably like I don't know.
Freaking 2x4s,
Yeah.
1x4s, anything I could find at Home Depot, just pine. And it was all warped, big knots in it. It was terrible. I didn't know back then too. Oh, you got to seal the wood. I was just painting over it. I thought the spray paint would do it. You cast that crap out and reel it back in. 2 hours later, it's all swollen up. You can see the knots in it. It was terrible. Yeah,
Oh man.
yeah. I started off making wood baits, selling wood baits though, and then I went into the resin baits probably like uh 2019, something like that.
Mm-hmm.
I just was sick of doing the wood baits. It's hard. I was trying to sell five a week just to keep afloat, and carving wood after wood and only selling it for $80 back then was just not doing it for me. I wasn't making the Roman made prices.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was hoping. I was like one day, but no, that never happened.
And just like back where you started carbon baits, there's just like not the resources out there like there is right now.
Yeah. Oh yeah, definitely. I didn't even know about like forums and stuff like that to get information. It was just all fly by the seat of your pants, use whatever you can find. I didn't know about wood sealer, all this crap. But yeah, I guess it's easier to learn as you go than sitting around. You can sit there all day reading forums on how people do this, how they do that, and you just gotta find what works for you.
Mm-hmm. So with you getting into starting to cast resin baits, how big of a learning curve was that for you, or did you like use some of those resources out there now?
Yeah. By that point, I had some of the resources. I think it was like Hinkle Baits was like the first one that I seen that was like, oh, they making them out of casting resin.
Mm-hmm.
Because I thought at first they were wood. They whenever they just showed pictures of them, I was like, all of them are all wood baits. How's he carving so many? And I was like, oh crap, they're casting them. What the hell? So then I think it was like that, and then I think it was Larry Dahlberg probably on YouTube because I
Mm-hmm.
seen him doing it. Of course, that's probably how everyone's seen like his shows, and I might have seen his shows on it was like the Outdoor Channel or something back then,
Mm-hmm.
and him casting them. the micro balloons, and the micro balloons were the biggest learning curve for me. I was like, how many do you put in there? And then I make the first one I did out of resin. I think it was this one, the present scale, the big one.
Mm-hmm.
And I thought my problem was, like, my first time taking them out, I got 5 of them, and I'm all excited. I got them weighted. They sync perfectly. I take it out to test it, and the thing's swimming like a torpedo. And I'm like, oh man, this thing sucks. I was so pissed. And I was like, okay, I didn't put enough micro balloons in there. It's not balanced. And so I drilled in the top of it, tried to make an air pocket, all this stuff. And then I realized it was the joint. And that's like the biggest thing, is the joint being, it was something like that,
Mm-hmm.
and it was not giving it enough S-wave. So I was like, man, that's all that was. It was probably weeks of trying to figure out how to get more micro balloons in the resin, and it was making it weaker. And I was thinking, oh man, come on. And that's all it was, is you got to make that joint at a certain degree, or that thing ain't gonna swim out wide enough to
Mm-hmm.
keep it steady. It's, I don't know what the correct term for that is, but that's what the deal was. Once I carved that to where it made a bigger angle on it, it was swimming perfect. I was like, heck yeah. I thought it was something to do with the balloons, and turned out to be that. And that was, from then on, it was just one after another. Freaking, then I think it was the 6-inch present scale was the next one I made.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, I'm jumping ahead of myself. I brought some of my old turds out. This is a wooden one. Like, I think this is my second trout that I made, the wooden Cali girl.
Mm-hmm. What's your fins on there on the top?
All the feathers,
Yeah.
probably from like Hobby Lobby or something.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I would poke a little hole in there and super glue them. Yeah, I seen someone doing that now. I can't remember. It was like a Japanese bait, and it's a top water. It was on Hookup Tackle on their page. I was like, holy crap! I gotta bring my feathers back out. Yeah, I think it was like a walking lure, and they had the fins on the side, like the little feathers. And I was like, man, I gotta do that again. I think this is probably like way before I even started selling them. I'll have to look for pictures on my Facebook, but this is my little rat
Mm-hmm.
out of wood. And this thing surprisingly swam pretty good. I made the tail out of like yarn or something, just super glued it in there. Never caught a single fish on it though. I got all kinds. I was carving my own. I think I copied like a live target or something. Carved that out of wood. But yeah, it's fun carving the wood, but to sell them, you just ain't making the money. You ain't getting like a profit out of how long it takes. So you just got to think of it as something fun, like your hobby.
Mm-hmm.
That's what I try and think of it as now. I don't really. I've been thinking about doing like a little batch of the wooden gills, like
Mm-hmm.
doing my 6-inch and gill in wood, and trying to sell them and have like a cool little. I think they do like the wood grain. You can see the wood grain, with a little bit
Yeah.
of paint over it, something like that. I don't know, maybe like an anniversary bait or something.
Yeah, that'd be
That'd be
cool.
cool. Yeah.
Yeah, so there's like other builders that'll do like limited drops of like wood baits, because I know like, like throwback baits, they had the
Oh
woody,
yeah.
and
Yeah.
then like looking on Legal Dope,
Uh huh.
Edwin, they have some of their like mega. I was talking to him the other day for the podcast, and he had like the megatum, or like it was like an in between size of one of his tum baits, and it's gonna be wood.
Yeah.
Then he had some of his wood rats too.
Yeah. That's sweet. Yeah, it's fun to still do the wood ones. I want to do like I got one of my grandpa's. That's the old old school like wooden frog color. With the green and the little yellow spots. I
Yeah.
really want to do something like that. That'd be really cool. And I've been wanting to do. This is my like all-time favorite lure. It's the Fat Free Shad, the old Bill Dance one.
Mm-hmm.
That's like the original when it came out. I had to have this, and my dad took me out to Bass Pro Shop to look for it, and that was like an hour and a half away. And back then, that was a huge deal to drive all the way to Bass Pro Shop, and we found it there. And I've probably fished it one time back when I was little, and never touched that thing again. That was the holy grail in my tackle box. Yeah, Bill Dance has always been the man to me. I've always
Oh,
looked up to him.
I was gonna say you got the Tennessee hat
Oh
there.
yeah, yep. Got the autographed one that he just put on his website. I was like, you can't even get a hat nowadays for $30, and Bill's selling them with his priceless autograph on it. I was like, that's why he's the man. He's
And
awesome.
yeah, I was looking on his website. I was like, I need to get one.
Yeah.
But then I was like, because I don't want to wear it, because I don't want to cosplay as Bill Dance, you know. But I was like, I don't want to wear it with the autograph on it.
Yeah, I think he had the same without the autograph. It was a little bit cheaper or something. I was like, I just want the autograph. I ain't gonna be wearing it. I used to wear a Texas hat that was just orange with a white tee, and I never knew it was Texas, and I wore that as a kid. That was my Bill Dance hat back then. Yeah, I could never find that one when I was a little kid. My mom could never find it for me. I would have killed for that when I was little.
Oh man, now you're an adult and you got some adult money. You can get your Bill Dance hat.
Oh yeah, living out your childhood dreams. With my Bill Dance hat. Yeah, this little area right here is usually a mess. I cleaned it all up. I got my microwave right here melting my plastics. And then right here I usually do some of my carving. Yeah, if you can see, it's just a mess around me right here. I know where everything is, but it looks like a disaster.
Yeah, that's how my area is. If I'm like the area where I paint and stuff like that, like there's just stuff all over, but it's like I know where everything's at.
Yeah. I got paint splattered on everything. It's a little bathroom, like a half bath, and we never finished it when I moved in, so I just converted it into like a storage and like a building little room right here.
Mm-hmm.
So hopefully one day I can build up to the garage baits, but right now I'm in bathroom baits. I gotta get me a little garage. Yeah, everyone's like, what do you, when I show them at the park or whatever, they're like, you just build them in your garage? I'm like, yep, build them in my garage.
Yep, that's what I'm doing.
I ain't explaining to them. Nope, I do them next to a half toilet, half bath. Yeah, I'm making it work, though. Just gotta make it work.
Well, that's all right though, cause like you're inside versus if you're in the garage, you'd have to heat it and all that other stuff.
Oh yeah, especially up here in Michigan, it gets freezing cold in the winters. Right now, it's like probably like 46 degrees out, so it's already getting cold with the furnace ain't coming on. So yeah, it was like 80 degrees a week ago, and then it drops to 46. Michigan's crazy. I don't know how it is there. You guys get cold, don't you?
Oh yeah, like let's see the temp right now. It's 49 degrees right now.
Oh yeah, about the same.
But our high is 75 today.
Yeah, that's probably like what ours is gonna be today. Sounds about.
Yeah, so I'm going into work. I got the heat on. Coming back from work, I got the windows down. It's nice out.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Yesterday I was working in a kitchen, remodeling it, and it's hot inside. You're working with your hoodie on, and you're all sweating, and then you go out, and it's kind of cold in the morning. I'm like, oh, this is that in-between weather I hate. But it's going to be worse in a minute when everything freezes over and you can't even fish.
Mm-hmm.
I'll be fishing in the rivers.
Yeah, so like I was fishing last week, and it was like the coldest day of the week. It was only got up to like 50 degrees. So I was fishing, and I was like doing all of the fall stuff that you're supposed to be doing. So I was throwing a spinner bait, and I was winding it in just slow, and I had these little bass follow it and follow it and follow it, and I'm just like, they're just like looking at it. I'm like, come
Yeah.
on, come on.
Yeah.
So I had to slow it down. So it's weightless Texas rig. Are you familiar with G crack?
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Little bluegill things. Yeah.
Yeah. So I had like one of the bellows gills,
Yeah. Bellows.
and
Yeah.
I don't know. I like one of my favorite lures is missile baits D bomb,
Uh huh.
and so like that whole bellows gill is basically the body of that D bomb, except like longer like ribbing and stuff on it.
Okay.
And dude, you open up that pack though, and it's like there's a ton of smell to it.
Yeah.
Like I don't know, Japanese baits just like
Oh
are
yeah.
so different.
Yeah.
But
Yeah. I noticed that the first like Japanese soft bait I got was a Kai Tak. I was like,
mhm.
wow, it hits you. It's like nothing like the American. We got garlic. We got all this coffee scents. And then that hits you. It's like, wow, that's like fish, dude.
Mhm.
Yeah, I haven't got no missile baits yet. Is it like a fishy scent?
So like the missile base, like the D bombs or whatever, they got like a black licorice smell.
Oh, sweet. Like that. What is it? Anise or something? I
Yeah,
think they
yeah,
advertise it as. Yeah.
yeah, exactly like that. Versus like that G crack stuff. Dude, it kind of smells like like shrimp or whatever.
Yeah.
Like
Yeah, like the
not
Kai Tex.
yeah
Yeah.
yeah not like good shrimp, but like
Yeah. Yeah. I
um
know. Like, if you ever had like pet fish, the little krill or something that they give
mhm
you in the little can. Yeah. Yeah. Well, I use that Bass Dynasty. I don't even know if they make it anymore. I can barely find it. It's in the little tube, and
mhm
it's like ground up bluegill basically. Like they got a couple different kinds. It's this brown paste, but that stuff will stick to your soft baits, your hard baits. I'm like, this is the best kept secret. I know they use it a lot in the West Coast for like trout fishing.
hmm.
They put that slime on it, and I freaking started using that in my ponds, and they just grab it and they don't let it go when they smell that. It's so thick on there, but yeah, I'll like put it on like a glide bait, and a week later I'll pull it out of my tackle box and it's still slimy. I'm like, God, this stuff, that's what I've been looking for years. It's like the scent of if you ever used the what is that, Z-Man baits,
Okay.
like the streaks, scented streaks or something, or
mhm
scented jerk shads. They're
okay.
little flukes. It's got that brown paste in there too, and that's why I got it, because I was like, oh, I was catching them left and right on those, and not a fluke. I was like, they are not hitting a fluke. They're only hitting this. And I was like, is it that scent? And I usually don't even care about scent, but I was like, dude, they're crushing that. I had to get that. Yeah, I
Yeah,
love
I've
the Z-Man baits.
yeah I've tried like when I lived in Florida. I lived in Florida for a couple of years. I had I was at this local tackle shop and I got the Bang, the
Oh yeah,
so it's like the black aerosol can, and
yeah,
the old guy at the tackle shop is like, oh yeah, that works great. He's like,
yeah,
don't. He's like, you gotta spray it on individual baits while you're fishing. He's like, if you spray it in like your pack of worms or whatever, he's like, you like those worms are just done for. Like they're gonna
yeah,
melt. They're gonna
yeah.
melt like in that bag. And
Oh yeah,
I'm like, oh crap. So yeah, but
yeah,
that's like also like garlic or something like
yeah. I
really
think so.
and he's like, yeah, don't get this on like don't
I
spray
know.
this in your house, don't spray this
Yeah,
like in your car, anything like
yeah,
that.
yeah. I just cracked open a thing of garlic, spike it, the dye,
Mhm.
and my mom was like, "What did you buy?" She could smell it from a mile away. Right when you crack it, it freaking smells like a Coney Island in my house. I was like, it freaking smells good to me. I love the smell of the garlic one. Yeah, I remember I used to have the Spike It little aerosol garlic
mhm.
spray thing too, and that just got everywhere. You gotta have the dip. Yeah, I've been using that on my soft baits, dyeing them, making the
Mhm.
little orange belly in that. But yeah, I've been only making the soft baits lately. But I got batch the 5150 shads going right now. I'm
Mhm.
probably too late on them for shad season, but I was like, God, everyone probably wants those. I got to make a batch of those. I usually make them in like September, but I just been busy pouring baits and working on a new one. I'm working on like a trout, 6-inch trout right now. It's
Oh
like a
wow.
weedless, so it'll be like my weedless gill, but it's a 6-inch trout, same tail and everything. I
Okay.
think it's like an A dot beast hook I got for it. So yeah, I'm just carving that up right now. It's kind of a nightmare. I carved the tip of it too short, or the nose of it too short, and it was just blunt. I was like, the face of it looks like a freaking bluegill. So I had to put some mold putty on there, reshape that. But yeah, I'm hoping to have those out sometime soon, like November or something.
Yeah. So let's get into that. So like, um, for people that don't know, like just go through some of the baits that you make. You can show them off too.
Yeah,
Um,
yeah, I got the my biggest one that, like, I think it's like 11.5 inch or something like that. Big old Cali girl swim bait, glide bait, and then got my angill. That's my favorite. I got it in the smooth, and then the one with the scales,
mhm.
with the carved scales.
That's
And
like a
then
that's like a perfect size at six
yeah,
inch. I
yeah,
it's like not like super intimidating to a lot of people.
yeah, yeah. I know. I'll be fishing that, and to me, it's like a finesse bait almost. And
Mhm.
kids will be walking by. Oh my God, he caught a fish! They're running, and then they get up there like, "What is that?" And I'm like, "That's my lure, dude." Yeah,
Yeah.
there's guys like, I'm in Michigan, so they usually don't see stuff. Everyone around here's fishing with a jig, fishing
Mhm.
for walleye. No one really even fishes for bass. Well, they do, but you're mostly fishing for walleye, pike, and stuff like that. So when they see that, they're like, "Oh, he's going for pike." I'm like,
Dude,
"No."
dude, so on the Cali girl, have you just caught like some really dinky pike on that?
I haven't caught nothing on it, dude. I tell everyone, I'm like, you need to catch something on this because I ain't caught shit on it, and it's embarrassing. I'm like, I don't ever plan on catching anything on that. That was just for the West Coast guys, and I've tried throwing it like on the Detroit River and stuff, but I'm fishing from shore, so nothing really is like up there. It's
Mhm.
like the whole shoreline's just weeds, and there'll be bass up there, little pike. I'm sure would hit it, but I just haven't thrown it enough. I really need to go out there and see what'll it hit it.
Yeah. Yeah,
But
I
yeah,
was throwing a 9 inch trout. I was like the 6 inch draw. I painted that
yeah,
in a rainbow trout pattern. There's a lot of trout around us.
yeah. I seen that
And
video. Yeah.
and freaking was throwing it and I glided it and I was letting it sit and it just slowly was like rising up.
Uh,
Um just slowly floating and I just had a huge blow up on it and I come into this fish and I'm like, oh, it's a pike. Like once I started
uh,
like reeling into it, I'm like, oh, it's
yeah.
a pike. I'm like, and it's not big, and I get there, it's like a 20 inch like just dinky pike, but
Ah,
it like blew up super like top water,
yeah.
like blew up onto it, like really caused a
Figure it's a big old
commotion.
bass or something. Yeah,
Yeah, I was like, it's a big bass or it's a huge pike. Cause I moved,
yeah,
cause like at this lake I was at, I was just like moved some 40 inch pike before, and
yeah,
I was like, this is gonna be epic, and it wasn't.
yeah. I know that feeling when you're throwing something bigger. You're nervous that whole time reeling it. You just don't know what's gonna hit it, and even when the little ones hit it, you're jumping. Your heart's beating. Yeah, I think, what was it that I remember I was using something. I think it was like a poor boy baits. I don't know if you guys got those out there. It's like a Michigan company. They make a lot of tubes and stuff. And they made, it was when the hollow belly swim baits were huge. They made like a hand poured swim bait, and it was only 6 inches. But to me, that back then, that was like a big old swim bait.
Hmm.
And I'm reeling that thing super slow, just expecting a monster to hit it. And I catch like a 5 inch bass or something on it. Little tiny, tiny bass. I don't know how it got. I had like a treble hook on the bottom on the weedless hook, and it got that little hook, and I about crapped my pants when that hit it. I was thinking it was a 10 pounder. I reeled that thing, and I'm like, "Are you serious, man?"
That's
You
funny.
never know. I tell people all the time, they're like, "Oh, you're hunting a big one." I'm like, "Dude, you can catch anything. You just never know." But yeah, while you're gone, I grabbed the old tackle box. I thought it'd be cool to show this stuff, like the original Bass Pro Shop. I don't know if you ever seen these, how much they go for on eBay now, because they brought back the brought back the design, but it's just
Uh-huh.
not the same. So everyone's still pushing them for $200 on eBay. I'm like, dude, I'm never letting this thing go.
Ooh, no way.
Yeah, I'm
That's
like, how? This thing was only like $3.99 back in the day, but I guess some dude like on Bassmaster won like a tournament on them, and it really hyped it up. And I was like, I got two colors, and they're never coming out of my hands. I'm
yeah, I
like, I'm
gotta.
never gonna catch a fish on them, but they're just wall hangers now. But yeah, I found that one that I was talking about, the poor boy baits, the
Okay.
little paddle tail. I don't even think they make them anymore. But this thing was the deal, probably like 2008. That's like the Gobi color, and they just kick so much water. Little tiny bait, but they just kick like crazy. It's almost like a optimum, like the optimum baits, like line through, but like
Mm-hmm.
a weedless version. Probably like a boom boom or something like that. But yeah, that was the deal back then. I was catching them on that pretty good. But this is another crazy one. I found the Yum Sweet Cheeks. It's got like a little cavity in there. They
Uh-huh.
put like, it came with like scent. They were like $6, and you got two of them and the little scent pack. And I was like, dude, that's the deal. And everyone was like, why are you buying trout baits? There's no trout around here. And I got obsessed with it watching. It was Hank Parker, and he was the first one that like opened my eyes to like the stocker trouts. And
Mm-hmm.
I never knew that existed. Like in the West Coast, he went to Lake Casitas,
Mm-hmm.
and they were catching freaking giant bass on these trout lures. And I'm like, dude, any trout lure I see in the store, I'm grabbing them. I just get obsessed with swim baits. That's what really got me into swim baits, is watching that. And I
Uh-huh.
was buying these whenever I seen them, and then I was like, not catching nothing on it. And I'm like, dude, what's going on? And then I was like, oh, they were stocking them trout. I was like, we ain't got no trout around here. They ain't gonna hit that. Like, I guess you could probably catch them in the main lakes, one or two, but they ain't targeting any stocker trout around here. But
Yeah.
yeah, that's why people are like, why is a dude in Michigan making the trout lures? But I just got obsessed with that whole concept of the freaking trout eaters. I was like, God, I want to make something that they can use. It's just like a really cool concept to me that these freaking bass are eating trout. You guys got trout eaters out there?
Yeah, so that's like how I got into like swim baits is I was listening to um, the Cast and Craig podcast,
Uh huh.
and they had Butch Brown on,
Oh
and
yeah.
I was like, all right, I was listening, I was hearing him talk about these reservoirs in California and how they
Yeah.
stock trout and whatever, and he was explaining how they set up, and then he was explaining these like trout eater bass, and I was like, all right.
Oh yeah.
I was like, you're like, we have like these big lakes and we have these reservoirs that trout are in, and they stock trout in
Yeah.
like this whole area, like the whole Black Hills area. Like I'm near like Mount Rushmore, if you will.
Okay.
Um, super underrated trout fishery, and so I was like, so there's not as many lakes with bass and trout in them,
Yeah.
but like last year, my around this, oh, it was like, or kind of around this time, I caught my biggest bass of the year. It was about 4 pounds, and it was on, a 6-inch Savage Gear trout.
Yeah.
And
The
so,
3D, was it the 3D trout, the soft one?
yeah, it was
Yeah.
it was like the wedge tail,
Yeah. Yeah.
yeah, or pulse tail or whatever they
Yeah.
call it. So I was pretty, I was pretty stoked about that. And like this year, just with work and everything, I haven't fished as much, but yeah, so that kind of got me into like swim baits. Is like it's like our reservoirs kind of like they don't set up quite the same,
Yeah,
but there's like enough similarities to where this will probably work, like where
yeah,
throwing swim baits would work. And
yeah.
so,
You
you
never
know,
know. Yeah,
and like
yeah,
a lot of the fish that I've caught on swim baits have been like either like, you know, dinky bass or uh dinky pike. Like the biggest pike
yeah.
I probably caught on a swim bait so far has only been like 24 inches. It hasn't been that big.
Oh yeah,
But then
yeah,
but then you can get some like trout that'll eat like a depth slide swimmer, a 115 size.
yeah. The little tiny ones. Yeah,
Yeah, and that's pretty cool. Like it's a hard thing to do, but you'll get like trout like following it.
oh yeah.
Like wolf packs of trout just following in at depths
Looking at it,
115.
what the heck is that thing?
Yeah, it's
Yeah.
hard. It's a little hard to get them to commit to that, but
Oh
it's
yeah.
such a cool bite.
Yeah, I love throwing glide baits. Just it shows you what's in the lake. It's like a fish finder if you don't have one in a pond. You could throw a glide bait in there, and in 10 minutes you know what's in that lake because they're gonna follow that in. Anything big in there is gonna follow that in, especially if it's a clear water lake. That's why I
Yeah,
love throwing them.
yeah.
Sometimes I don't even put it on expecting a fish. It's just something to get them in. I'll
Mhm.
fire that thing out as far as I can and have like a fluke or something on for when they do follow it in. You pitch that fluke out there in their face and they're going to eat that because they're already fired up watching that glide bait come in.
Yeah,
Yeah,
exactly. Well,
yeah,
yeah. Let's keep going through like some of your baits. Let's see what else that you've been making.
yeah. Like my recent ones, like I got the 5150. It's named after in the namesake of Eddie Van Halen. This was probably like a year before he died that I named it that. And I was like, man, that is crazy. But yeah, that's like one of my favorite albums, Van Halen albums. So I named it the 5150. It means, like, I guess the police, like, if there's like a crazy person, they say 5150. That's like the code. So that was
Mhm.
the one album of theirs. And I was like, this thing's got like a crazy action. And it's something you fish fast. So I was like, it just clicked. There's a 5150. So I got the 8-inch one that's like the real thick one. And
Mhm.
then I got a 7-inch version of it that's a little bit thinner. And then that's a shad baits.
Yeah,
I think that
is that more like choppy then or like quick?
the big one is like really like a slow, like more like a hinkle. Like if you
Okay.
see like the hinkles, you would really want to fish this one slow.
Mhm.
And then that's what I made the 7-inch version for. It's thinner, and it's got like a bigger angle on it, like I was talking about earlier. So that one's
Yeah.
really gonna be the choppy one.
Mhm.
Yeah, I had to make a version of that because I seen like people really getting into that, the choppy style. I think it was like the HP or Hyper Shad or something like that. I can't remember what one really started that.
Mhm.
And then it was like I can't, I don't know, I'm blanking on the name. What's the most popular one? A Chad Shad.
Yeah.
I was like, everyone wants a Chad Shad. I got to make something that's like choppy like that, a thinner body. And that's how I got into that one. But yeah, these are all my trial and error of the soft plastic. I got this is the first one I did. It's just like a nasty little wedge tail, and that
Mhm.
didn't work. So I was like, I'm gonna make the boot tail, and that one works. But I was like, I really don't want another boot tail. You can get a boot tail anywhere.
Mhm.
Then I tried to do another wedge. I don't even know how many I did, dude. It's like probably like 5 before I got one that actually freaking kicked. I got handfuls over here of everything that didn't work that looks like it would work. I think, yeah, that's the one that actually ended up working.
Mhm.
It's like a wedge tail, but it's thinner and like pointed on the end, and it's got like a square instead of the V. Like on most wedge tail, it's square right there.
Mhm.
So it actually, like when you're reeling it, it'll twist a little bit and go like that. and it's got the rounder end, so it's almost like a mix between a boot tail and like a standard wedge tail.
Mm-hmm.
So I came on that totally by accident, man. I was trying anything to get those to kick, and like the first one, I put so much work into it, made 5 molds of it, thinking the molds were gonna work, or thinking the lure was gonna work. So I made 5 molds, and I was like, God, I poured so much money into this, and they didn't even work, dude. I was so disappointed on that. But yeah, luckily I finally got stumbled on one that works, and I caught my. It's I don't think it's my PB, but like second. It's probably like a 4.5 on the first day I went out testing it,
Mm-hmm.
and I'm like, holy crap, this is the one, dude. Because last year I was catching them on a Huddleston grass minnow, like
Yeah.
crazy 3 pounders, 4 pounders, and I was like, God, if there was like a bluegill one like that. And I was thinking of all the ones like they have their weedless bluegill, but I was like, that just I don't know if that's gonna do it because it's too big of a profile for them. I don't know. It just didn't seem like it was gonna work for me. And then I tried the Savage Gear weedless gill.
Mm-hmm.
I just was not getting bit on that. I was like, God, I gotta have something that's in between that and that grass minnow. And I was like, I'm just gonna freaking try it. Who knows? And luckily it worked. And that's my favorite bait now. I think is that little weedless one.
Yeah. And then what size hook do you rig that on?
I use a 5/0 trocar.
Okay.
That's but I think my buddy said like a 6 beast hook works.
Mm-hmm.
So that should work too. Yeah, yeah. I just tried to see if like the 8/0 works on it, and it's just a little too big. But yeah, with that, I don't know if I got one rigged. But yeah, with the 5/0, it actually slips up in the bait. You can't even see the hook at all. Like I know the Savage Gear one's a weedless, but you see the hook so much, and I just couldn't stand that. I wanted one that was like really hidden, like that grass minnow.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, that was like another thing I'm trying to do with the trout right now is keep that slim profile, but hide that hook still. And that's been, I don't mean to say a bitch, but it's been a bitch to try and get that to work. Yeah, I think I finally got it to work. I just got to carve the scales now and everything and get that mold made and pray that it works.
Has that been
Hopefully.
like a big learning curve for you, like pouring soft plastics and
Oh, yeah.
whatnot?
Yeah, big time. Yeah, I burnt quite a few batches. Then didn't know you needed a vacuum chamber. No one told me that. You just melt them in the microwave and pour it, right? And I was like, well, that's simple. And then I got all these bubbles in these baits. I'm like, dude, is it the plastic? What is it? And then I stumbled on you need a vacuum chamber, someone said. I was like, what does a vacuum chamber do? This weird thing. It's just like a little cooking pot with the little vacuum pump. And
Mm-hmm.
you that's been the like biggest learning curve because you put that in there and big old mounds of foam are coming up and I'm like, dude, this can't be working. But I learned you gotta take some air out, put some air in, take some air out. You'd be amazed how much air is in that plastisol that you just cooked up. It's just foaming, foaming, foaming.
Mm-hmm.
I think that was the biggest learning curve for sure. Yeah, that was something you
As,
definitely got to work on.
yeah. And then with like soft plastics. So how are you getting like your colors in it? Are you like painting colors on? Or are you using pigments?
Yeah, I used the dyes. I think it's golden grub is what I use, and then I use like paint or the spike it dyes I was talking about. I
Mm-hmm.
make them like they got them little markers and stuff. I use those. I use the dipping dyes, and then there's a Japanese marker. That's what I use for the black stripes on it, and that thing has been a lifesaver for me to make the little spots and everything on it because I really didn't want to use paint because that paint you got to use is so strong. The smell everyone talks about is like that's such a strong chemical smell. So I've been getting away with doing it with just the markers.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, I should probably start selling. some of those markers on my website so people can trick out their own baits, get the little marker kit with it or something. Yeah, I just keeping it simple with markers and pigments right now.
Yeah. No, that'd be cool. And like the little soft plastic gills that you do are pretty cool. I'm really excited for your trout to come out. I'll probably have to
Oh
pick
yeah,
up some of
thank you,
those.
man. Heck yeah, I'll send you some for sure. That's awesome.
So like right now with your fishing, like what kind of rods and reels are you rocking?
For my swim bait, I use the Corrado 300,
Hmm.
and then it's like a SLX, probably like a 8 foot medium heavy. I think it's like a slow moderate taper,
Hmm.
but it's just way too fast for the glide baits. I got to get something that's a little bit slower. I want like a something like a big crankbait rod,
Hmm.
something that's got more give on it. But yeah, that's what I use for that. And then the soft baits is the stupidest rod. It's Daiwa Jupiter that I got for 25 bucks at Walmart, and it's like a jig rod, and I've used it for probably 10 years now, and that thing is just so perfect for it.
Hmm.
I don't even need to look for anything else because I've never missed a fish on it. They freaking take it. It's got just enough backbone, and then I got a Tatula, just like a standard Tatula 150, like the original ones, on that with like 20-pound fluorocarbon, and then that's been the ticket for that gill, especially in the clear water. That fluorocarbon's perfect. It ain't got too much stretch, but it's just got enough that when they
Hmm.
take it. But yeah, that's been the deal for that. And on my Corrado, everyone thinks I'll have like some fancy line in there, and I just use the big game, like the cheap stuff you get at Walmart, the big spool of it. I
Hmm.
use 30 pounds. And if you condition the crap out of that stuff, it's awesome, dude.
Wait,
That's like the
if
best
you're
kept secret.
dude, if you're like on the forums or whatever, like Swimbait Universe or like Underground, everybody's like, "Oh yeah, like Berkeley big game," and I'm like, "All right,
Yeah.
that's sweet."
Oh, yeah.
I don't use any like fancy line or anything like that, or no like Swimbait specific line, but
Uh-huh.
like I don't know, I haven't tried out the big game, even though a lot of people are like, "That's what you got to use," because other people are like diehard uh like
Cigar and all that.
Seagar, yeah, stuff like
Yeah.
that, like Invisex or
Yeah.
Abrazex, stuff like that. Um,
Oh, yeah. There used to be a dude that it was called Swimbait Chronicles, and it was on YouTube, and he was like a diehard swimbait dude. And I used to use straight braid for my swim baits just because I was afraid to lose them. And
mhm,
he was the first one that was like, I used braid for a while on my depths until I fired it one time and got a backlash, and it just went pop, and the depths went sailing. And
mhm,
he was like, I've never used braid again. And I was like, God, that was like my biggest fear after seeing that of that happening. So then I went to fluorocarbon. I think he was using like the Seagar Red Label,
mhm,
and then I used that for a while, like 20-pound. But then I really got away from that in the big swim baits because I was getting nicks in the line and stuff. So I was like, God, I think Jeff from Hook Up Tackle was the one that got me onto the big game on
mhm,
one of his old videos. He was like, this is what I use because I'm changing my line out so often that I'm just going to use this all the time. He's like, it works. It's got a little bit of stretch. And I was like, I'm gonna give it a shot. Bought some at Walmart, and ever since been using it. Probably like 5 or 6 years now. I've been using that. Yeah, the 30 pounds probably overkill. You could probably get away with like 20. But yeah, I just keep it spooled on that 300. Who knows what I'm gonna be using on it. But yeah, anything smaller like the 7-inch glide baits, I'm using like fluorocarbon.
yeah,
Yeah, 20-pound fluorocarbon on them. I really don't fish for pike that often. People
mhm.
probably think like I'm fishing for pike on them in Michigan, but I really don't even try and hunt down the pike. So I ain't really worried about them
Well,
biting one off.
do you have like any muskies like up in your area?
Oh yeah, yep. like Detroit River is loaded with like trophy muskies, but
Mm-hmm.
they're in like certain spots and nobody like can catch them. It's crazy. Like they got to go trolling and stuff, and nobody from shore can catch them. At least it's I don't know, nothing to really worry about them biting off your line. Like everyone says, it's like what the fish of like 1,000 casts or something. I'm
Mm-hmm.
like, dude, one of these days they're gonna grab it and I'm gonna regret it. But yeah, I use a leader sometimes if I'm out there like trying to catch a bass, just trying to catch anything on the river on one. So I'll throw a leader on that. But yeah. Other than that, 20-pound fluorocarbon, 50-pound braid on my flipping rod, and then 30-pound mono. That's the deal.
Yeah.
Stick to that.
So
Dude,
if you
oh,
go
sorry,
ahead.
man.
No, you go
Speaking
ahead.
of line, I was looking at like tactical bassing is what I freaking only watch them on YouTube pretty much for like telling me what gear to buy because I just really trust them.
Mm-hmm.
And they got me onto the Power Pro braid, and I
Mm-hmm.
was like, 10-pound Power Pro's got to be the strongest crap in the world. And I was freaking breaking off. I broke off like a 2-pound smallmouth. I set the hook on this thing, breaks it off. He jumps. He's got the tube in his mouth. I'm like, dude, what am I doing? So I just bought some 20-pound, and it's so thin. I was like, why would I ever even buy that 10? The 10's like yarn. It's like not yarn, like sewing thread. I
Mm-hmm.
was like, dude, this gonna break off so easy. So I got that off there, put the 20 on, and 20 seems like the deal.
Yeah, so like that 10-pound braid is so thin.
Yeah.
Like on my BFS setup, I have my backing is 10-pound braid
Oh
to
yeah.
4-pound fluorocarbon, and the line is the same diameter. Like
Yeah.
that's how thin 10-pound braid is.
Yeah. It's so thin. I was like, I thought it would be so strong, man. 10-pound braid. That's got it. You could probably pull a tree down with that, but no, it was not working for me.
I think
But
I think
yeah,
with I would braid though. If you like rub up against something sharp, it's gonna break
oh
off
yeah.
though.
Yeah. Yeah. What kind of knot do you use? You know the knot, like
Oh my god, dude.
well,
So I
you use a leader, so that don't even matter, huh?
well, so like with my BFS setup, I was like really worried because I have micro guides on the rod,
Yeah.
and so I was like, for an hour I was trying to tie. I think it's an FG knot or something,
Yeah.
and I was like watching videos and I was trying to do it and I wasn't getting it. I was like, fuck it. I was like, I'm gonna tie like the WD and
Yeah.
like do that, and I haven't had an issue with it
Sweet.
because I'm using such like small line that knot is just tiny and it doesn't even matter that I
Yeah.
have micro guides.
Oh yeah, that line's so thin. Yeah, I was wondering if it was the knot that I was using on that line, so I was like, maybe I should, before I take it out, try another knot. But I already put that 20-pound on. I was like, I'm just gonna stick with that. That even that 20-pound is so thin, I can put it on my spinning reel.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, I was wondering if you had like another knot that you use. I think I use like the improved clinch knot. It's like the double version of it, but
Mm-hmm.
that's what I've been using on pretty much everything. I use that knot.
Yeah. So for like if I'm using braid, a lot of times I'll use a polymer, like a
Yeah,
polymer knot, and then I just think that that's like works really well for me for just straight up braid tying it on. And then
yeah,
for fluorocarbon, uh I tie a San Diego jam.
yeah. I used to do that all the time too. I think it's the same exact knot pretty much, but you just, that bottom loop comes up through the top. You put
Hmm.
another one through the top of that eye, and then you pull it. I think it's the same exact one.
Yeah, and I've not had like any issues with that knot
Yeah,
whatsoever. It's like my favorite. Um
yeah.
So, like, what lures are you fishing if you're not throwing your swim baits?
Around here it's usually like a chatterbait. Like I'm fishing around the marinas, like Detroit River marinas. So it's usually a chatterbait, something that's got like a ton of vibration. So either a ton of vibration or something that drags the bottom. So like a
Mm-hmm.
tube. I'm using a tube, a jig, chatterbait, crankbait. But yeah, that's usually what they hit. And then there's that window in the summer where there's a part of the Detroit River and where it goes into Lake Erie. There's like little marshes right there where it splits up, like the little river fingers come out, and there's marshes up in there where the grass grows, and the bass largemouth get under those mats, and you can catch 5 pound largemouth on the Detroit River. And everyone's thinking you're out there catching smallmouth. I'm like, dude, I'm catching Detroit River largemouth on a frog, topwater frog. It's awesome. Yeah, that's really fun. But right now, it's all the grass is dying off, so I don't know. All them bass are probably pushed out far. I've been trying everything out there and just only seeing big old carp, Asian carp, common carp. Every carp you can think of is up in them shallows right now. With all that dead grass.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, we don't have like grass dying, or at least
Yeah,
at the lake I was at, we don't really have any grass dying right now. But um, yeah, dude, I was trying a lot of different things to like catch these bass, and then I don't know, I was just like, I caught a couple like small bass last week at this lake, and I was like, there's just no bass in this lake.
yeah.
There's just small
I've had
ones.
that. Yep, I've had that feeling.
Yeah, I was like, I would have caught the big ones. There's just small ones in here.
Yeah, yeah. You get that feeling sometimes there's like no fish in the lake and you know they're freaking in there, but it's just like, nah, dude, there ain't nothing in here. Yeah,
Oh man.
yeah. Hopefully I can catch something before the season ends.
Alright, so like besides your like wedge tail trout that you're working on, are you like doing any drops soon with certain baits?
Uh, yeah, probably gonna be doing the 7-inch 5150s. I'll probably
Mm-hmm.
be dropping those soon, and maybe even the 8-inch 5150s. And then after that, it'll probably be like the 8-inch Cali Girl, the smaller version of the big trout. I'll
Mm-hmm.
probably be doing that soon. Usually, like I think it's November they start the trout stocking, so I'll probably do that. Do you guys get trout stocking out there, or is it just wild?
So it's a little bit of both. So there's like some like naturally like occurring spawn. There's like,
Yeah,
I mean, there's not like it's not super great, but you will catch like little juvenile trout if you're like throwing some small stuff.
yeah,
But uh, a lot of that's supplemented by stocking, and then we're cold enough year round, and like a lot of these lakes are categorized as alpine lakes because we're at a
okay,
higher elevation, so we have like good holdover for fish.
yeah. That's sweet. Yeah, we ain't got like no. I guess up in the UP probably, or a little farther up north, but down here there's like no trout lakes. I
Hmm.
wish there was, but we ain't got nothing. Yeah, they're all bluegill eaters, bluegill and shad in the main lakes, but everything inland lakes is just all bluegill.
Hmm. Yeah, I was talking with my buddy when him and his kid were out and they were trout fishing, and he was like, they came back to my place and I was showing them like swim baits and stuff, and his 6 year old was really into it, so I was like, was telling them it's like, oh, if you're gonna get this, like if you're gonna get a setup, I would do this,
Yeah.
and because of where you guys live, they live on Lake Oahe,
Uh-huh.
on the Missouri River,
Okay.
and as far as I know, the Bassmaster elites have gone through and fished twice at Lake Oahe,
Yeah.
and his dad is a big walleye guy up there.
Uh-huh.
He's a big walleye guide, and so he got to drive the camera boat for like Taku,
Oh,
and
sweet.
yeah.
Yeah, that'd be awesome.
Yeah, apparently like Taku is just like this cool, like really cool guy, super nice. And
Yeah.
I was telling them though, I was like, if you're gonna go throw swim baits up there, and it's gonna be a lot of like smallmouth fishing, I was like,
Uh-huh.
dude, like, I was like, look at a bull shad, like the bull herring,
Yeah, for
because
sure.
there's a lot of smelt, but then there's also um, there's like shad and whatever. I don't know what kind of shad they are, but they're not the shad where they get like tall. They're more like long and
Yeah, little,
skinny.
almost like an alewife. Yeah,
Yeah, so I was like, dude, I was like look at the bull herring, and then I was like, look at some of like these other baits. I kind of gave them a variety. Look at some bluegill baits, because that like
yeah, for sure.
that 6 inch present gill would just kill for smallies up there.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, yeah. Even like the 6 inch one's got that slim profile to it.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I think that'd be perfect for them.
And
But yeah,
so
I really want to do like a soft shad too.
yeah, and so with your 6 inch present gill, is that so? What's the action like on that? Is that more of a kind of a wider glide, or is that like more like S swim?
I would say it's almost like a choppy, like it's got that S swim to it, but
Mm-hmm.
it's really like you can burn that thing. Like it's
Mm-hmm.
really got like a super wide angle on it, so you could really burn that, and it's just that really fast movement, almost like a uh, I think HPH herring or something like the herring baits that just really have that super fast movement. But yeah, I think that'd be the ticket for them. Yeah, something like that.
Well, and you did
Yeah.
some cool, like a cool paint job, like a limited paint job. You did like the cartoon kind of style that was.
Oh yeah, I got that one right here. I saved one for myself, the little animated style.
Yeah,
I
those are
seen a
cool.
I seen a dude in Japan do that, and I was like, God, that would be so fun to do that. And he does it so freaking good, though. I don't know if he's using like markers or what he's using, but they're like on Gancraft claws.
Mm-hmm.
That dude, he did some awesome work on those. That really inspired me.
Yeah, I noticed like one thing about your baits that you've switched up is over the years is the tail, because it seemed like you used to
Yeah,
do like the
hard
like a
hardtail.
hard
Yeah,
hard tail that I seen like some brush tails, and now you're like
yeah,
doing plastic or silicone.
yeah. Silicone. Yeah, yeah. These are. I used to use like a wood burning thing, like a wood burning gun or what I can't think of it, like a soldering iron,
Mhm.
basically, and cut them out of like plastic that I could find, and then they're like hard plastic, and then I just like that because you could paint it, and then I got into using urethane resins for these, and it's still like solid plastic, but I could still paint them. But then I was like, everyone wants like a soft one. I think this was probably the first soft one that I did, the silicone.
Mhm.
And then I just pretty much kept doing the silicone. Some I did brush tail for a while too, but I really didn't like the brush tail because they got so messy after like storing them. If you put that thing on its tail or something, I use like a carrying bag, like the tackle bag, so
Mhm.
all my trays are going like this. So all the brush tails, I'm pulling them out. They're all crazy looking, and that silicone's really forgiving. You could put it in there and it ain't getting bent.
Mhm. So like your like the 8 inch Cali Girl trout glide, like
Uh,
what's the weight on that? Is it pretty
uh,
heavy?
no, that one's pretty. I got it so thin that it's
Mhm.
pretty good. It's like probably like 3 ounces only.
Oh wow.
Yeah, it really ain't super heavy. Yeah, 3, 4 ounces, something like that, compared to like the original one that's just big old meaty swim bait. That thing's like 11 ounces, I think it is. But yeah, the 8 inch ain't too heavy, especially like the old wooden ones. Them weren't even really. I just really wanted a thin bait, so you get that profile. It looks like a big old trout, but
Mhm.
you ain't got something heavy to cast. And that was probably mostly because I just didn't have the rod for it back then. So I was just trying to make them as thin and light as possible. Yeah, seemed to work pretty good.
So what would you say is like your most popular selling bait?
Mm, Probably the most I've sold is probably the angill, the 6 inch angill.
Mhm.
I'd say probably that one. Yeah, it's kind of for every situation. I've painted ones with shad patterns, painted little carp patterns on them, everything you could think of. Everyone. And I started doing too. I don't know if you noticed the rotating hook hangers.
Mm-hmm.
That was it took me years to get into doing that. I just was always afraid to do it. I didn't think that it would work. And my friend John from John Outdoors, he makes the crawler baits, and
Okay.
he showed me how to do that, and he'll tell you everything you need to know about bait making. He ain't afraid to share any secrets. He's an awesome dude. You really should do a interview with him.
Okay.
He'll talk about baits for hours and hours and share all of his ideas. I'll send you his link. You can check out his baits. He's a really awesome dude. Yeah, he goes to all the swim bait gatherings. He's been to Bassmaster Classic. That dude's got his finger on the pulse of bait making for sure, and he's a really nice guy too.
No, for sure. Um, is there like any one particular bait that you were making that like gave you a lot of trouble?
Uh, I'd say probably like the presence gill, like when I was doing that resin, first starting out on the resin. I'd
Mm-hmm.
say that was probably the biggest nightmare of, but that was more just the resin really than the bait. Was learning to do that resin, but I guess it was the bait too, be getting that angle on it right. But yeah, and the soft gill, that was a nightmare too. I showed you how many I had to do on that before I figured it out.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it almost got to the point where I was like, screw it, I'm just gonna bite this one. I spent $300 on plastisol and molds, and I was like getting to the point where I was done with that, and then I was like, one more shot, and I was like, just think of something that's a wedge tail but original. I don't want to just make like another Huddleston or something like that where it's just a wedge tail. I really didn't want to step on no one's toes with copying a bait or something like that. So it just came to me, that idea of that with that squared off little piece that I showed you in the because the first one I had that squared off piece, but for some reason it just did not kick. Like you
Mm-hmm.
reel this thing through the water with a weight on it and it's doing nothing. I'm like, what the heck, dude? I thought I had the tail right. That's the original one right there.
Mm-hmm.
It's got the little square sides on it, the little tapered. But then that new one, or the one that I came up on, I don't know if I got it. I thought I showed you one. Oh, there it is. It's got that like more of a rounded, and it's
Mm-hmm.
fatter, but it's still got that square side to it, and the little square cup right there, and
Mm-hmm.
that's what caught that water, I guess, and just got that thing kicking. And a lot of it too is the texture. Like I bought like a super soft one, and that soft one, even with that tail, just does nothing. And it was getting that, figuring that out, mixing the they sell the softener and the hardener, getting that formula right, because whatever I was buying was not working. I was using medium, soft, hard, everything, but it was getting that just right to where that thing kicks. But yeah, I think that's the ticket right now for me. I've been catching them on that left and right. Not lately though. It bites slowing down on them.
Yeah. Man, don't want to take up too much more of your time here since you gotta
Yeah,
get going to work. But
yeah. I thought I heard my cousin beeping.
nah, it's alright. So where can people find you at as far as like social media, your website?
So mostly Instagram,
Mhm.
Hallelujah Lures. I'm on there all the time, and then Facebook, Hallelujah Lures, TikTok, and then just HallelujahLures.com. That'll be where my drops are. But yeah, I'm mostly on Instagram
Alright, perfect.
and YouTube too. I got my YouTube channel. I've
Yeah,
been
yeah. It seemed like
working
you were
on it.
yeah, it seemed like you were really going at it there for a bit and then
Yeah,
uh,
slow down. Yeah. Yeah,
it
you
happens.
inspire me to get out there, man. I see your posts every week in my feed. I'm like, dude, this is what I want to be doing. You're at the tackle shops and stuff. That's what I want to be doing. I got to get out there and start making them again.
Yeah, I've ran out of tackle shops in my area, so I'm just like, well, I guess I gotta, whatever
Yeah.
we're driving around, have to do someplace different. But is there anything else you want to touch on before we get going here? Anything else you want to talk about?
I just want to say thank you, man, for having me on here. I really appreciate the opportunity. It was awesome. We got to do it again, too. I could talk about baits forever. There's a million things that I'll think of later that I could have talked about. So
Yeah,
I'll have
exactly.
to start writing it down and we can do it again someday.
Yeah, yeah, perfect. Like, we will definitely have to do that because like we're at this for a little over an hour. I feel like we hardly
Yeah.
scratched the surface on
Oh,
anything.
yeah. Yeah, and I don't really like around here. I have no one to talk to that fishes really. Like all my family, no one in my family fishes. It used to be my dad before he passed, and just no one really fishes that much. So like, I'll be talking about all different types of lures, like we're talking about to my cousin and stuff. He'll be like, "Dude, I use night crawlers."
Yeah.
So it's awesome to get to talk to you about this stuff.
Yeah, exactly. No, it's the same way around here. So I was trying to talk to the like in my last video, I went to that small tackle shop and I was trying to talk to the owner about what like BFS is, and he had no idea. And I'm like, it's ultralight bait
Yeah,
cast fishing, and I was like, I could have gave him a whole seminar on what it was,
yeah,
but
yeah,
yeah, he was
yeah. You
he's
just gotta
like,
keep it simple.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah,
But anyway, dude, this was great. Um, yeah, we'll definitely have to do this
heck yeah,
again.
for sure, man. I appreciate it.